And what is up, guys? Andrew from the Denmen here.
What's going on, guys? Tyler from the Denmen here.
So in our first ever podcast, we rank every Treyarch Zombies map from worst to best. We both made our own list, and we're going to compare each other's list for the best map overall. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So coming in at my number 31 spot, I have Dead of the Night. What do you take?
See, that map is just one of those maps where it just was not executed correctly. The characters were horrible. The audio lines, everything they said was just stupid. I hated every second of it. The wonder weapon was interesting, to say the least. It really wasn't good. But there was one variant, and the only really usable variant for playing that map, that was pretty decent. It's a cool wonder weapon, the little revolver. It's definitely fits the map, but I feel like the way that they have werewolves and vampires and all that, it just doesn't fit into a Treyarch Zombies game. It just doesn't feel right. And I understand what they were going for in the map. It definitely works within the map, but the map itself just doesn't feel right. It looks beautiful. It looks very, very good. The way that it plays is just not the best. The mansion is cool, and the map itself is very cool. It has very, very nice aesthetics. It looks amazing on high-gen consoles and all that, but I just feel like the way that it plays isn't very good. I don't necessarily think it's the worst map ever, but it's definitely not a very good map.
I totally disagree with you on that. It is definitely the worst map, absolutely, in my opinion. Let's just start off with the way they marketed it. They marketed it terribly.
Yeah, they just dropped it. They just did not care at all.
They did not care at all about Black Ops 4. It didn't play well, because in Black Ops 4 they had the whole perk system and all that with no jug and all that.
Oh yeah, that was a complete mess.
Black Ops 4 didn't really work as a zombies because what they did to it, they should have kept the vibe of the whole, you get your perks, you get set up and all that. And
yeah, I don't know why they changed that system. Nobody complained about that system layout. They just said, "Oh yeah, let's just change what makes zombies and let's just roll it out."
You should have kept what made zombies great. Instead, you changed it, and Dead of the Night did not work at all.
The biggest problem with almost every Black Ops 4 map is some of the maps aren't necessarily horrible in the layout. It's just the Black Ops 4 engine and playstyle is just horrible. No one really likes it.
Absolutely. So what's your 31 spot?
I gotta go with Blood of the Dead.
Blood of the Dead. I can't agree with you on that one.
Really?
Because for me, Blood of the Dead is just a worse version of Mob of the Dead. Totally, without a doubt. Blood of the Dead didn't really have the whole afterlife, didn't really have the vibe.
It didn't have anything that made Mob of the Dead good. It didn't have the plane, the pack-a-punch, the way that it works. The whole system of Black Ops 4 is horrible. The bridge to get actually into Alcatraz is a nightmare. That is one of the worst things I've ever seen in zombies, just in that one spot. The Easter egg was amazing.
Easter egg was definitely fantastic. Amazing.
But that is the only thing. And I feel like a big problem with Black Ops 4 and a little bit in Black Ops 3 also, they started building maps around the Easter egg instead of the Easter egg in the actual map. And it felt like too story heavy, and it affected the gameplay. In Black Ops 3 it worked. In Black Ops 4 it didn't work at all. Nothing in Black Ops 4 really worked. And Blood of the Dead is just a stain. It's just not good. There's really nothing that keeps it going besides the magma gap, which is pretty cool. But it killed the acid gap. No one used it. It was horrible. It was not worth using. The dogs were back, but that's their pretty much only cool things, but it really still didn't work. There's just nothing in that map that flowed correctly. I mean, apart from the specialists, but those were overpowered to begin with.
I totally agree on that. I do want to say that the whole Easter egg situation did start off in Origins, and that map was amazing.
Yeah.
That is totally why they kept the system running, where they made the map around the Easter egg, and it wore off after a long time of using that.
Yeah, it was just, it worked in that map, and it works in some maps, it just doesn't work in every map.
It doesn't. It just does not work. So at my number 30 spot, Verrucht. What's your take?
I completely disagree with that. I mean, I know that it was World at War, and there's not much to it, but that's when they introduced perks. They had the two spawn, which was an interesting mechanic. It's just the aesthetic of that fits zombies perfectly. That is the scariest map. You load in there. If you were a little kid playing World at War for the first time and you loaded into Verk, you were terrified. You were like, oh shit, I'm playing zombies right now. It's just one of those things where it's a staple, at least in World at War. All of World at War is they're pretty bare bones, but it's just so defined. Plus, they added perks which changed zombies completely. That's what made it what it was. That the perks add so much character to the game. It's
Yeah.
one of those things that
Yeah.
make you feel like you're playing zombies, and that's why it's so good. Granted, the layout and the additions to it really aren't that much, but I definitely don't think it should be at number 30. I think that's way too low.
It was definitely a stepping off point for zombies in whole, but for me, like there was no replayability at all to
I
it.
can
You
understand that a
you
little
didn't
bit.
have any training, any camping spots, none of that. So where are you gonna go? You're gonna make it to round 10, round 20,
Yeah,
and there's nothing after
that I
that.
can definitely agree with. At my number 30 spot, I actually have Transit.
You just can't do transit like that.
Transit's just not
With
good though. It's just not
with
good.
So in hindsight, transit wasn't actually that bad. You look back at all the Black Ops 4 maps and you start to appreciate
Okay,
transit
okay.
just a little
But
bit
the thing
more.
is, Transit's so bad. Black Ops 4 is just that much bad. It's Transit was known as the worst map, and then Black Ops 4 came out, and they're like, well, it's Black Ops 4 is just so disgustingly bad that it just makes Transit look good, which is kind of sad.
Absolutely.
Because Transit just didn't work on the 360. It was too big. It was way too much for it to handle. It didn't look right. It played horribly. The bus made me want to punch a hole in the wall. It wasn't fun. Tombstone was a joke.
Again,
It's
if
I don't know.
if it was on a system like the Xbox One or Xbox Series X, it would have been a heck of a lot better. No doubt. You
Oh
wouldn't
yeah, it
have
probably
had
would
the
have been a little bit better.
fog,
But
the
even without the fog,
denizens,
it's
all
just there's
that.
too much going on to stay on top of. I think it's one of a map that could be remastered if done correctly, but I just overall I don't feel like that map just does anything right.
I do think that it does need to be done correctly. The whole buildables, how you need to have the pylon or whatever it's called, the electrical turbine, to open up the pack-a-punch in a different location, which it could get destroyed in after all that going through two locations
Exactly,
that
and the
didn't
jet
work.
gun is a joke. The jet gun is stupid. It breaks on you.
Absolute
It's
awful
so
wonder weapon.
there's like one place to train by farm, and the jet gun is just not what it needs to be for that map. With a map like that, you have to have a godly wonder weapon, and that's just not it.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree on that. So at my number 29 spot, though, I have five. What's your take?
That's way too low. You have five that low.
I have five
What's your
that low, and
reasoning
I'm
for having it that
I'm
low?
gonna I'm gonna tell you why. The Wonder Weapon, bad.
Okay,
There
yeah, it was
is
pretty
nowhere
horrible.
to train in this map.
There's a place to train, kind
I
of.
it,
You have
one
you have
place
an escape option with the portals, though. That's what
it
makes it
didn't work.
viable in a way.
It didn't really work for me. The whole system of it, and then like the pack punch definitely was really
That
cool
was really
system.
cool. The way that they did that worked very well. I think that map is another situation of not necessarily perfectly executed in the way that the map flows, but in the aesthetic and the coolness of the map is unmatched. With the the president and Fidel Castro, it's just it's one of those things that leaves an impact. Like you know five and you know exactly what it is.
Oh yeah,
It doesn't really work well for high rounds. It's not a high round map at all, but it's definitely something that is way more fun to play than maps like for Rucked, but I still feel like that's way too low. In my 29 spot, I have Voyage of Despair.
Voyage of Despair. That's not a bad pick because I had it pretty close to it. For me, like again, it's the whole Black Ops 4 situation.
I mean, a map on the Titanic, that sounds cool. You're like, hell yeah, we're on the
Of
Titanic.
course.
And then you load in, and you don't know where the hell you're going. You spawn in, you can go left, you can go right, you can go down the middle. I remember the first time I played that map, I mean, I was lost. I didn't you experience the map for the first time, but I was genuinely lost. I went in like a circle like
Absolutely.
8 different times. I'm on a ship. It shouldn't be this hard. I can navigate transit better, and there's like 8 different maps in one. Plus a bus driver. It's just the wonder weapon wasn't great. There was one variant that was kind of cool, I guess, but I just don't feel like that map holds up at all. Like no
No.
one ever wants to replay that map. No one will expect like, damn, I could play some Voyage of Despair right now. No, it's just one of those maps that just shouldn't be considered a good map.
Cool concept. Didn't play correctly.
That's
Definitely did
such a
not fit.
recurring theme in Black Ops 4. Everything is just such a cool concept, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. So at my 28 would be Voyage of Despair, but we just talked about it. So what's your 28?
It's just not good. That's all I could say. For my 28, I have Dead of the Night, which was your
Dead of the
worst
Night.
pick.
Hey, at least it's close to the bottom.
Man, it's
It
it's
needs to
definitely not
be.
a good map. But I
Absolutely
would
not.
rather play that map than play Voyage or play Transit because Transit holds up in nostalgia and that's it. It has no replayability. Like you think
Transit has spots though. Like it has.
Transit has Town, but if I'm gonna play Town, I'm just gonna load into Town. That's the thing. So you can't really count that. And Dead of the Night, it does a few things right. Like I said, the aesthetic of the map is very cool. The Wonder Weapon can be kind of fun. I'm never gonna go back and like play it on my free
Never.
time. But considering what it was, I have to say that it's definitely better than my other options.
All right. So for me at my number 27, I know I'm gonna get hate on this, but I have Nocturne and Towin.
Okay, that's not as bad as Verruct, but I understand where you're coming from because that is the definition of a bare bones map. There's nothing to it, but that is where Zombie was born. That's where it started. That's where it all began. And it's definitely not the most replayability, but it's so fun to just go back and just be filled with nostalgia, hit the box, get the ray gun, camp in the corner as long as you can, and throw grenades at the zombies until you just die. It's definitely not a high round map. People can kind of train in it in that little spawning area, but I understand why it's low. But you just have to account for it. That was the first attempt ever, and I think it deserves a little bit of slack, but it definitely doesn't hold up as like a great map.
It definitely got points for being nostalgic for me. Like, would I put it higher than other maps on the list? Probably not, but I could be swayed into doing it. It's very tough though. It is just the overall. I think it is better than Rock because you did have a training and a camping spot for both at the Black Ops 1 version. It did have Mule Kick, which gave it a perk. So it's not like it's the worst. It definitely isn't the worst.
At my 20 spot, I have Alpha Omega. And I remember I was so excited for that map. I was like, oh, yeah, they're doing Nuketown, but they're actually doing Nuketown. They're adding the bunker. They're adding the Ray Gun Mark IIs. And I played it, and I'm like, this just isn't fun to play again. It
No.
it looks cool. It's very, very interesting. The Ray Gun Mark II, two of them at least are pretty good. The other two are god awful. The dual wield one and the other one,
Yeah.
absolutely horrible. Um, I don't know why they brought the Avogadro back. I don't know why he's here, what he's doing, but he's here for some reason. I don't really understand why they needed to bring him back, but he's back. The map, it kind of flows well, but again, it's Black Ops 4, so nothing really flows well on Black Ops 4. I feel like if that was on like Black Ops 3, that map could have had really, really good potential. But just on Black Ops 4, anything like that, it needs to be perfect on Black Ops 4 or it's not gonna work.
Yeah, I don't think that Alpha Omega was a very good map. It was better than a lot of the maps in Black Ops 4, though, for me. But overall, it did suffer from being in Black Ops 4.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I do think towards the end, they started to get lazy with it, and you can't do that to the main
Yeah, no,
characters.
you definitely cannot.
Absolutely not.
Like some of the quote lines, I thought it was really cool that they went back and forth between the young and the old characters. That was really interesting,
That was a really interesting
but
storyline.
that's just not enough for me to want to play a map over and over again.
Yeah, no replayability for me on that one. So at my 26, though, I had Transit.
Okay, that's a fair placement, all things considered. I feel like I'd rather play Verrucht or Nock than Transit, just for the simple fact of the simplicity of the map. But I mean, what can you say that hasn't been said about Transit? Everybody loves to blow on that map, and it is what it is, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I do think that it aged a lot well after Black Ops 4.
Yeah,
Definitely, no doubt.
every map seems better after Black Ops 4.
That's true.
At my 26 spot, I actually have five.
You have
I have
5.
five. It's a very cool map, like I said, and I think the boss was pretty cool. The zombie,
Oh, it was.
yeah.
I hated that
Oh, dude,
boss.
every
The
time the
Pentagon thief.
Pentagon
Oh
Thief would
my
be the
goodness.
worst. I mean, the bonfire shit was cool. That was an interesting mechanic, but I mean, how often did you really get it? The pack a punch system was cool, like I said. I think the training spot in the middle, but a big plot problem that I have is the teleporting is such a big part of the game, and it just
Yeah.
drops you wherever the hell it wants. Like I've gotten screwed over from that so many times. I
Oh
have a
yeah.
lot of memories in that map, and I think that's what keeps me from placing it lower. But overall, I just don't think that it's a great map.
Oh, definitely, definitely. That's why it's very low for me, but it is not that good in my opinion.
Yeah.
But at my 25 spot, very similar to 5 would be classified.
Okay. See, Classified is the only remake on Black Ops 4 that works in any way. Well, okay, I wouldn't say that entirely because Tagder and Toten is okay, but I think 5 did the remaster aspect the best. It keeps it simple, it keeps it familiar while still adding a good amount of new abilities. Plus, the shield was a good addition. That definitely
Oh,
changed.
that shield was
That
broken.
shield definitely changed the map a lot.
It was broken.
But
Can't say more
yeah.
than that.
But it definitely was a little easier to play. It felt a little easier to get in rounds, and they fixed the teleportation thing, which was an issue for me.
They
Which
they made it better. They definitely made it better,
yeah,
and that is what a remake should do. With other remakes, they made it worse, but this one they definitely made it better. They added more to it, and they added the Area 51 part.
yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
Yeah, it was just a better map.
The
All
Easter egg was stupid.
oh, there's barely an Easter
Yeah,
egg there.
but I'm just saying what it was a joke. Like
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know what they were thinking.
yeah.
At my 25 spot, I have Verrucht actually.
You know, again, that's not too far off, so I can't really shame you for that.
Like they have the perks,
But then
they
again,
have the amazing aesthetic of what Verrucht is, being in an insane asylum, the zombies. But it's like I said, you get to round. It's like you said, I should say. You get to round 10, you get your perks. Nothing to do. Nowhere to camp. Nowhere to train. Nothing to really do. The traps are an interesting mechanic that they
oh
added,
yeah,
which definitely adds some replayability, but not much, because it's a hard map. There's not much to it, and there's really not much more you could say.
you can't fault it for trying something new, except for
They didn't even
that.
necessarily do anything bad. They just didn't
No,
do enough to make it a great map.
yeah, it was a stepping off point. It definitely was, and that's why it would be at my number 30 and your number 25.
Yeah.
So, at my number 24, Shangri-La, no doubt.
Okay.
I
See,
hated the Wonder Weapon,
you
and
didn't like the Wonder Weapon?
I hated
I
that
like.
Wonder
See,
Weapon.
that's. I disagree with you entirely. I really don't think Shangri-La is a great map. It's fun. It's not a good map by yourself. The training is not a great spot, but it works with the
Nope.
Wonder Weapon. I gotta say that Wonder Weapon would only work in that map.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
But
I didn't like it.
I really like the Wonder Weapon. I thought it was really cool, and I thought it was really good for getting to high rounds. The zombies can still hit you, but
I hated that. I
yeah.
hated the
See,
fact that they
that
could
really
still hit
didn't
you.
that really
But
didn't
there's a way
screw
to
me
get
that
around
much.
it.
Yeah.
There's a way to get around it though. And I also hated the Shrieker and
Oh
the
yeah,
Lava Zombies.
the Shrieker were so
Those guys were awful. I
it's
disliked them
it's a
very
very
much.
difficult map, and the Easter egg is
Very.
crazy. Oh my god, getting Pack a Punch open in a public lobby, good
Pack a
night,
Punch was
have
insane.
fun.
You can
Okay,
barely do it. You
but
can
I
barely
can
do
say
it.
one thing that makes that map amazing: PhD Flopper.
PhD
That's it.
Flopper. That's it
That
right
was the
there.
only thing that kept that map. And like
Absolutely.
when they remade it in Black Ops 3 didn't have it, and that was such a huge part of the map. PSC Flopper was broken in that map, and it was such
Oh
a
yeah.
big part. At at my 24 spot, I have Classified, and
I went off.
like I said, I can't put it that much higher than 5, but they fixed the teleporting, which is an issue for me. They made it a little bit easier to survive, which is better for everybody because 5 was really hard to survive on in its base state. I just I think it was better. I don't think it was that much better, but it definitely was an improvement without a doubt.
Yes,
Definitely was
no
better.
doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. So for my 23 spot, I had Tagger Toten.
Tagged or Toten, really. I think Tagged or Toten did a good job at remaking.
Really?
Yeah, all things considered, because take Blood of the Dead and how bad the additions were, because they had Alcatraz, but the additions that they put on Blood of the Dead were god awful. Every new part of the map was stupid, but with Tagged or Toten, the parts that they added felt decent. They didn't feel amazing. It's not an amazing map, but the parts that they added definitely felt like they didn't harm the map, unlike Blood of the Dead.
I do think after coming off of like the endings of Revelations and Origins to end it off like that, it was a flop in my
Yeah,
opinion.
the
Big
ending was
flop.
such a big flop. I mean,
It
I
was
personally don't hate the Victus crew as much as everybody does. I kind of like them, but it just shouldn't be the way that it went out. They could have just
it,
done it so much better.
the map in general was just like I do think that it was worse than Call of Dead. Call of Dead was just like a fun experience for me, like with the zip lines, the
Oh
VR-11,
yeah,
the scavenger. It was overall fun, and then you had George. Like you can't go
see,
wrong with having a
not a
playthrough of
lot of
that.
people like George. To be totally honest, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of him.
I love George. George is great. He's just like the astronaut zombie. I love those
Oh
guys.
my
Those
god, the astronaut zombie. At my 23 spot, I have Nocturne Tone. You know,
Nocturne Toad.
the first map, bare bones, classic times camping in the corner. It's not as bad as you put it. I don't think I should have put it that low as you did. I think I put it in a decent spot. Replayability is there. The nostalgia is definitely there. But overall, as a map compared to the other maps on this list, it just doesn't hold up.
I do think that you gave it some nostalgia points, no doubt.
Oh yeah,
Clearly. All right. For my 22 spot, I had Alpha Omega.
Alpha Omega. Okay, I can kind of see that. I think I put it a little low. I'm keeping it where it is. Definitely, I don't think I'm gonna change my list, but I definitely think I lowballed it, considering what it was. What's your take on it?
I think it was, again, like the remake was worse than Nuketown Zombies, in my opinion. Nuketown was just like a fun little way to like enjoy zombies, and Alpha just didn't do it for me. It was more of nothing. There was nothing to it.
Yeah, there really was nothing keeping me from playing that map.
Yeah, the ray guns, the bunker, they were cool
The bunker
additions,
could have been
but
done so much better than it was. It
yeah,
could have been done
it
way
just didn't
better.
work. It didn't work.
My 22 spot, I have Tagged or Tone.
Again, really close, and like this is just probably because the whole Black Ops 4 situation. Am I
Exactly.
wrong?
I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't like how every map was a remake for the old characters. I don't
Yes.
think they should have done that. I think they should have done some originality, and it just kind of shows the laziness that was Black Ops 4. You know, it's kind of sad to see because it definitely had potential out of all the other remakes that were there. That had the most potential, but it doesn't compare to what it should be. And the problem with the remake is everyone's going to compare it to the old maps, and unless it's somehow better, which usually it isn't, it just doesn't hold up.
Yeah, no doubt. In my opinion, they just didn't do a lot with them. The whole fact that every single map was a remake just didn't do it for me. It was awful. They did the original characters terrible in Black Ops 4. I hated that. So coming in at number 21 for me, Blood of the Dead.
That's too high. I have to completely disagree with you. That's way too high.
I can't agree with that because at the
What
end of the
what
day,
makes you play that map? Why? What makes you put that above all those other maps?
all the other, it's just like it's Mob the Dead at its core, but it's
It's
just
not
worse.
though. It's
It's a
not Mob the
lot
Dead.
worse
It feels like they
at
pissed on
its
someone's
core.
grave. It's just not what it needs to be, and it's not what it should be. I just can't agree with that.
They had it at its roots and they destroyed it, of course,
Oh yeah,
but better than the other maps. I totally think that it is. The Blundergat's still there.
the Blundergat was
Hell's
the only
Retriever.
thing. The Retriever wasn't the Retriever though. It didn't feel. It just didn't feel how it needed to feel.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they just made it worse.
At my 21 spot, I have Shino Numa.
Shino Numa, are you
That
kidding
map
me?
gets hated on a lot, and I hate the mud. I hate the mud.
Are you kidding
On
me?
World at
Not.
War, the map is broken. People get to 5,000 like it's easy. Like 5,000 is a crazy record. It's the Wonder Waff was introduced, and that's a huge part.
Yes.
That was the first map that had a Wonder Weapon, and that's the only reason that's keeping me from putting it lower. But I think the perk system, how they spawned in random, was an interesting feature. When you played solo, it was horrible. I hated it. But when you played with other people, it added a little bit more depth. I feel like the remastered version of Black Ops 3 plays a little bit better, especially because the rounds aren't broken and that the Gobblegums add a nice feature. But you really won't find me playing that map just by myself in random situations. In World at War, it definitely was interesting, but playing it now compared to all the other maps, I just feel like it does not hold up well.
Two names. That's all I need to say. Wonder Waffle and Flogger.
The
That's all I
Flogger
need to
was
say.
cool. The Flogger was
And
definitely
then you
cool.
have a good map such as Shino Numa. That is a good map. There is no way that you're telling
I
me that it's a
I
bad map.
definitely don't think it's a bad map. I'm putting it in. I'm in like the okay. That's like the start of my okay tier list now.
That is a
Starting
good
at
map.
22 was the bad. Now I'm in the like. It's okay. It's definitely not a bad map, but it's definitely not a great map.
No, it's not a great map. It's still bare bones, and you can't fault it for that. It's been a game called World at War, but it still had the addition of the Wonder Waffle, game changing in my opinion.
Yeah,
I love that
that was a
weapon.
game changer.
I
But the
loved
getting
it.
rid of your jug, man, that makes it so hard to use.
Yeah, I agree, but you did have the training, you had the
Yep, you did.
flogger,
Yep.
and you had the Wonder Waff. That is a recipe for success in my
All right.
books.
Okay, I guess I can understand what you're saying there, in a way.
Absolutely. So for my number 20, I had Nuketown Zombies.
I respect that because people call Nuketown Zombies like the training course of zombies. That's where you go to play zombies to get better. Because there's no established wonder weapon. It's just the ray gun. The L-Shot was a very fun gun to use. I hated how the perks dropped in. I don't really think
I love that.
you like that.
I love that.
Really?
I think it is very interesting to get
I
like
cannot
Jug
count
at round 25.
how many times I've gotten Jug at round 25 and I've just been sweating my ass off trying to get there to get Jug. I definitely don't think it's a crazy map. I think it's interesting. I like the simplicity of it. I definitely think that there was a good idea to remake Nuketown into a zombies map, without a doubt. But you're not going to find me playing that map too often. Maybe once in a while to go back and just see what it was like. But definitely not a map that's just going to hold a place in my heart. But it was definitely a very interesting choice. And they definitely did it right.
I do think that they did it right, and I did like the perk system because it was interesting, it was fun, and it added a variety to the game that you never saw. Because you could have quick revive, you could have Jug at round 5, like you could have any perk, and then it just changes like wham. Now you have Jug at round 25, out of nowhere. I love that about that game.
In my number 20 spot, I have Shangri-La. And, you know, PhD Flopper. That's the only thing keeping me from putting it low. That is the only thing. And I like the Wonder Weapon. I really, really enjoyed the Wonder Weapon. That's one of my favorite Wonder Weapons.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very cool. You know, the map looks good on the remastered version, so it just shows what it could have been. And it still looked good on Black Ops 1. It played not the best, you know. It's really not a high round map. And I'm a high round player for the most part, but it definitely has a lot of nostalgia, and PhD Flopper is so much fun to use on that map.
I just think it was a hard map.
Oh, it's one of the hardest maps.
One of the hardest of all time, but it just wasn't a fun experience for me. I didn't like it. All right. At my number 19 spot, I had Die Rise.
Die Rise.
I had Die
I had
Rise.
Die Rise at my number 19 too.
That I think we can both agree on it that how the perks were in the elevators didn't work at all.
No,
The whole elevator
no.
system
See, the
didn't work at
elevation
all.
wasn't the problem, but the elevator and the perks was so annoying. I've gotten crushed by elevators. I've not gotten my perks and just waiting. The Sliquifire is broken. The
It was a
Sliquifire is
lot more
insane.
broken pre-patch.
You could shoot one bullet at the ground and kill the whole round with it.
You could kill for the next 3 rounds. You never even know.
Yeah.
Like that gun
I
was
mean, it
broken
drops off around
pre-patch.
100, but who the hell do you know plays that map for more than
Yeah.
50 rounds ever? It's,
There was
you know, Black Ops 2 has this weird part of the first half not being great and the second half being absolutely amazing. And
absolutely.
this is kind of just where it cuts because I feel like this map had the right idea, but a horrible execution. Like, what they were going for looked cool. It felt cool, but it just didn't play right at all. And they teased PhD Flopper, and this is the one map where PhD Flopper would have been nice on in Black Ops 2. But they
They did
sketched it.
troll us with
Yeah,
that.
that was I was so mad. But, it is what it is. It's a fun map. Wall guns made an appearance. You actually would buy wall guns for once. The SVU was good. The KN was fun. But I don't think that map deserves to be considered a very good map.
So for me, like the training spots were they were good. They were like there was a lot of them in my opinion. The verticality for me just it was iffy. Like I didn't like it at some times. Then other times it was like okay, this
It's
is a
fun as
cool
hell to
aesthetic.
launch yourself on the trampoline in that map, though. So much fun.
Buildables, the
Buildable. Oh my god,
buildables.
who's
Oh
who?
man,
Worst perk of all time.
awful perk,
The worst perk of all
awful.
time. Absolute banger of a jingle, but absolutely horrible perk in its right. And it's just,
You will never catch me using that.
I used to buy it all the time because I'm like, I know it's got to be good. It can't be this bad, and it never worked. Never
It was
worked.
bad. All right, at my number 18 spot, I had Call of the Dead.
What? Really?
So again, like this is the part where you get like good, not great.
You don't think it's a great map?
I don't think it's a great
I
map.
have to completely disagree with that.
I do think that it was fun though.
At
It was
number
definitely a
18,
fun map.
Call of the Dead. Wow.
Think about how much times you got past like round 70, round
Okay,
80, round
that's
90.
okay. Nobody gets that
You
far on
can't.
that map. But it's not
You can't.
it's not a high round map though. It's a fun map.
It is fun. And that's why it's at number 18. I think the actors were really cool. George Romero, fun idea.
Oh yeah, definitely. The characters were really cool.
Really cool. Danny
You
Trejo.
can never go wrong
You
with
can't-
Danny
you can't
Trejo.
catch him
No,
wrong.
never.
Never.
But I gotta disagree with you. The map was so fun. They had the zip lines. They had the sickle. They had the VRL one sucked. The scavenger
Absolutely.
was fun, but it drops off.
Big time
Have to have
drop
PhD
off.
flopper. I
Big
mean,
time
the
drop
minigun
off.
sucked in Black Ops 1. The Wonderwaffe was cool that you could get from George, but that map definitely does not hold up that well. At number 18, I have Nuketown Zombies.
Nuketown Zombies. It's fun. It's a fun experience. You're not getting that much out of it.
You're really not getting that much out of it. It's just kind of one that you just put on to play like in between big games, waiting for somebody to get online. Let me play some Nuketown Zombies. Or
When
I kinda
Transit
wanna play
was the
some
only map.
zombies, but I don't want to go crazy. Let me play some Nuketown Zombies. It's just one of those maps.
When Transit was the only map,
When
that
Transit
was the
only
go-to.
map, that was the go-to.
That was the
without
go-to map
question.
for me. All right. At my number 17, this will definitely get me a lot of hate. Garad Krovi.
I hate Gorod Grovey. I'm not even gonna fight you on that. It's a good map. It's very cool. The Easter egg was fantastic. I just don't like it. I don't like how it plays. I don't like how long it takes to get set up. That map is made for hardcore zombie players and hardcore zombie players only. I
Absolutely.
don't like waiting till round like 11 to get pack-a-punch, and even then you have to hold off. And if you don't have the wonder weapon, good luck because it's hard as hell in there. It's too much. The Easter egg is crazy hard. It's cool, but it's hard. The map is just hard. It's too hard for its own good. You set up, you get pack-a-punch, you get your perks, and then you're just kind of running around. It's just, I'm not a big fan of that.
The Dragon Shield for me was one of the best parts.
Okay, yeah, that was insanely cool. At my number 17, I have Zetsubo no Shima.
Zetsubo no Shima. All right, if you told me before I actually like studied the map, I would have been like, that is one of the worst
Yeah,
maps in the
that
game.
was one of the maps where like I saw it, and the first time I played it, the first few times I played it, I'm like, this is horrible. This is a horrible map. And then I played it more, and I played it more, and I played it more, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of fun.
This is an enjoyable
The wonder
experience.
weapon is cool. The Masamune when you upgrade it,
Very fun
very
map.
fun wonder
Very
weapon.
fun gun.
The spiders can just not exist.
I
I hate the spiders.
hate them.
I don't have a problem with the Thrasher. The boss zombie doesn't bother me much. He was fine. The special, the skull of Nansapui, that
Oh
was
yeah,
awesome.
that was
really
great.
cool. The Easter egg is really easy. It's really fun to do.
Really easy.
It's not too crazy, but it's definitely enjoyable. The story's interesting. The boss fights, it's okay. It's probably the worst boss fight in Black Ops 3, but it's all right though. It's definitely not bad.
I could definitely go through running
Yeah,
Zetsubo
that's one of the
again.
maps
Like,
where I can find myself like just randomly playing.
yeah, of course, it is one of the good ones in my opinion. After playing it for a while, you really have to understand it. First, like with the whole power thing, I didn't like the whole power. That was like the one turn off. The way you turn on power, you had to get like everything. If you didn't have a shopping for free, you didn't get it till like round 10.
Yeah, that map just takes way too long to set up on. It shouldn't be like that, and that's exactly how they made it, and I completely disagree with it.
All right. Yeah, totally on that. For my number 16, I have Shinonuma.
Okay.
Absolutely like the bear of good, not great. Like I could play it right now and have a fun time.
I mean, I don't think I cannot have fun. I know I put it pretty low, and it's not because I don't have fun on it. I just don't think it holds up compared to all the other maps. I love zombies. I've been playing zombies ever since it came out, and I love most of the maps. And I'm not saying Shinonuma is not fun, because I could definitely have fun on that map. But when there's all these other maps out here, I feel like it doesn't compare, and that's my problem with it.
Again, I'm a big Wonder Waffle fan. You will always see me using a Wonder Waffle if I can. Definitely, no doubt.
At number 19, I actually have Derice, and I feel like not a lot of people are gonna agree with it being that low.
Derice. Are you kidding me right now with Derice?
No.
Not only did it have the
Yep.
teleporters, the pack-a-punch,
Yep.
one of the best camping spots in the game, very
Yeah,
good training
The best
spots.
game. Okay,
You're
the
really
training
gonna tell
spot's
me.
not the best. It's hard to use.
I'm not saying it's the best,
Okay, because
but it is usable.
the training spot is usable in like the remasters, but in World at War where it takes your jug, it is so hard to use that training spot.
I yes, in World at War, when it takes your jug,
The biggest thing about Derice is Pack-a-Punch. Pack-a-Punch is introduced.
Pack Punch was huge
And-
for the game as a whole.
And I know that it put Derice low, and it's definitely my low ball of the list, but I just feel that there's a few things wrong with it that definitely get fixed in the remaster for BO3 with the Giant. I feel like the Giant
Yeah.
definitely has a leg up on Derice.
Definitely.
It's a good map. This is like the start of the definitely good maps, and there's no doubt in my mind that this map is an absolute classic, and I can have a ton of fun on this without question. I just think that the World at War version, Derice, was a little bit overrated, all things considered.
I can't agree with you on that. I think that Derice as a whole, very fun map. I could definitely go back, play with my buddies, and enjoy it for a long time. You can find me playing that map many times over. All right. At my number 15, from Black Ops 4, I have 9.
Okay. See, I think that's a little low because I think 9 is like the hidden gem of Black Ops 4. It's the only map, well, not the only map, but it's a map that it works extremely well with Black Ops 4. The aesthetic of the map is insane. It's amazing.
Love it.
The wonder weapon is
Roman
cool.
Coliseum.
Everything about that map is just screaming, just badass in every single way. It's a crazy map. So much is going on. There's so much to do. You're constantly running around. It's so much fun. It looks amazing. It plays good with Black Ops 4, which is a huge plus, I can say, because not a lot of things do that.
I do think that
definitely
is a really fun
very,
map.
very good map.
This is a very fun map in my opinion. The perk system and all that, it really worked with it with the four corners and all that. Yes, it was definitely good in Black Ops 4, and I think that it would have worked.
At my number 15, I have Go Ride Crovy. Now,
Go Ride
I
Crovy.
don't necessarily agree with putting it above Zetsubo for fun standpoints. I feel like I definitely have more fun on Darius and for Zetsubo, but I also have to respect the fact of what Go Rod Crovey does with the Easter egg and how fun it can be if you're a really like hardcore zombies player. The aesthetic of the map is very, very cool. The dragon adds a very interesting depth of layer. The dragon shield is very fun. I don't like the Valkyries, and I hate how long it takes to get set up. And I don't find myself playing it because I don't really have that much fun on the map. But I just have to respect what it is for the zombies games, and it's just that's why I have to put it above Zetsubo and Darius.
Yeah, of course. The Ray Gun Mark III's really made that map good.
It's really good, but then it just
It is the
falls off
perfect
high
weapons.
rounds. It's really
Yeah,
good.
but it is the perfect weapon for that
Yeah,
map.
I don't know why they did it to where it just like at like round 7 or something, the weapon just becomes absolutely unusable. But it's
Yeah,
a very
no.
fun wonder weapon. It's very interesting.
Very good. At my number 14, I have Zetsubo no Shima.
Okay,
It is a good
it
map.
is a
Like
good map.
you can find me playing it sometimes.
See, I can just speed run the Easter egg. I have so much fun with that Easter egg. The spider boss zombie, so cool.
So
So
good.
like when you do that for the first time,
Transformative.
yeah, when you do that for the first time, you're like, oh shit. I thought I was doing the Easter egg for a second. I'm like, what the hell did I get myself into? She's really easy. I thought it was gonna be way harder the first time I did it, and then I did it. I was like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
No,
But
it's a good
the
map.
map does a lot of things right. It's not a noob friendly map. You gotta know what you're doing, or you're not gonna have fun.
Yeah, of
It's a
course.
huge learning curve in that map because if you don't know everything, you know nothing basically. If you don't know how to upgrade the gun, if you don't know how to do the skull of Nanzapui, because that's a bit of a process to get the skull open. And the biggest thing that I hate for the Easter egg at least is doing the challenges. I hate how it
Yep.
forces you, and it does that in Go Rod Crovey too. And I don't like that mechanic either because I feel like it can be a grind, and it's very RNG based. But overall, I think the map does a pretty good job.
I do think that they're not as bad in Zetsubo than in Go Rod. Like, I hate doing the challenges in Go
Yeah, I
Rod, but
know.
like in Zetsubo, they're agreeable. I can do them at least. I just can't do the ones in Go Rod.
There's a few in Zetsubo that feel pretty bad.
For me, Zetsubo was like the one where it is the hidden gem of Black Ops 3. Everybody liked every other map. Nobody really likes
Yeah,
Zetsubo
I
because
feel
of
like it's
how it
definitely
played.
overhated, without a doubt.
Absolutely. So what's your number 14? We all want to hear it.
Oh, my number 14 is the Giant.
Okay, okay, so yeah, it's a good, not great map.
I
Like,
think that the Giant definitely improves on Reese without a doubt
absolutely.
because the Gobblegums add a big part. It definitely
Hmm.
improves the map. The upgrading the weapon mods for Pack a Punch definitely increases the camping spot. It greatly increases that. Training is actually possible now that Jug works. I mean, it worked in the Black Ops 1 remake, but still overall. The Annihilator pistol was a good touch. They didn't really have an Easter egg. I remember for the first like 3 months when Black Ops 8 people came out, they were just searching and searching and searching for an Easter egg, and there wasn't anything. It definitely was a good gateway map for Black Ops 3.
It was by far like one of the best
Oh
remakes.
yeah, definitely. They did such a good job with that.
They really did. You can't really go wrong with having a bare bones map like Darius and then making it so much better. You just have to add just a little bit. There's nothing that you really have to add. It is already a very good map in my opinion, and that is why Darius comes in at my number 13. It is by far the best in World at War in my opinion. The Wonder Waffle, the Pack a Punch, the perks. It just combined all of what it did in World at War and became such a great map.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that definitely. Am I 13? I gotta go with Revelations.
Really?
Yeah,
What can you say wrong about Revelations?
too easy.
You're right. There has been many times that I have just wanted to die in
You
that
see,
map.
when you get
Absolutely.
the God Mask, you don't die. You choose to die. You
That
don't you
is
don't get killed once you have that. Once you have that, it's a patience game. It's how long do you want to keep playing this? You
that
have
is
the
true.
most overpowered wonder weapon, and then you also have the Thunder Gun, which is one of the best wonder weapons ever. You have monkeys, you have Margwas, you have Max Pack, you have So much things. It's a crazy map. Granted, you have two bosses coming at you with the Panzer and the Margwa, but it's definitely one of those maps that a lot can happen. And I know that a lot of people don't like it because it wasn't necessarily original because they just reused the old maps. But I feel like it does a good job. It still feels
Yeah.
very, very fun. The Easter egg is really, really fun. I feel like that was a good ending, even though they kind of screwed it up in Black Ops 4. But I feel like it was a good end to what it was, without a doubt.
Yeah, of course. I think you're right about the whole easy part, but it was a fun map. Like the God Mask, the double pack, the Markwa gun, the Thunder gun. Like that is what made the map. It took what everything did in all of the zombies, Black Ops 3, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 1, World at War, put them all together and said, "Here you go. This is fan service." And that's what I love about it. That's what makes the map. So at my number 12, I have the Giant. One above Derice. It is very similar, but definitely a step up in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, I can respect that in all things considered. I don't know how much I necessarily agree with all of that, but I can definitely see where you're coming from.
It's a step up.
Yeah, it
You
definitely is
added
a
the
step up.
Annihilator, double pack, gobblegums. I mean, the gobblegums kind of made it a little bit too easy.
Oh yeah, gobblegums were a very very cool feature, but it made the game significantly easier.
Yeah, yeah.
At my number 12 spot, I have Ancient Evil. Ancient Evil was a very hidden gem in Black Ops 4. That
I
was
can agree
a
with that.
map that played very well. The wonder weapons were really cool. The layout of the map played off 9, very cool. I don't know if I necessarily like the whole Medusa thing, and I definitely really could care less about the Chaos characters and everything.
Yeah,
But
but as a
as a
map,
map itself, and just looking at the map itself, it worked really well. It was really cool. It had a very good flow. I liked the way that it played. I liked the way that it felt. I liked the feel of the map, the aesthetics of the map. Definitely one of the hidden gems of Black Ops 4, and what makes that
yeah,
game
no
even
doubt.
playable.
For me, I if I'm ever on Black Ops 4, I think I would rather play 9 than Ancient Evil. But Ancient Evil is just like a good map.
Yeah,
It is a good map. You
it's more
can't go
well
wrong with
balanced
playing
than
it.
9.
Yeah, you cannot go wrong with playing a map like Ancient Evil. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. At my number 11, I have Ascension.
Interesting.
I can't really put it higher because there is a map on Black Ops 1 that is better in my opinion. But what it did, adding PhD, such a great perk. Everybody wanted it back. Never like came back in all the other CODs, but PhD was just a really good perk. The monkeys,
The
really
least favorite
fun.
thing about Black Ops 3 is they got rid of dolphin diving. That's a tragedy. That's a
Absolutely.
tragedy. I mean, I do love the movement in Black Ops 3 sliding around because if you have like an elite controller or something, you can just zip around the map doing like that little like speed glitch with the ABs. But man, I miss dolphin diving in a bunch of
I
zombies.
do miss PhD, and that is why like the monkeys were like not fun at all.
See, people love Ascension, and I put it higher than I do because it's kind of like Setsubo, where I don't necessarily have the most fun on Ascension because of the monkeys. The monkeys make me not even want to play that map altogether. It
That is the
it
turn
is
off
the
for me.
biggest turnoff in any game in any zombies ever. Like there is not one other feature in a map that makes me not want to play something as much as Ascension. I
But
should
I
not
do
have to
think
buy
without
my
them,
perks and then say, "Oh, lose them." And someone says, "Well, just hold jug." What the hell? Okay, I'll hold jug. What the hell is happening to the rest of my
yeah,
perks?
all you need is one perk
Yeah.
in that map. There's no need for any other perk.
Ascension has the best training spot of all time, in my opinion. If you
Absolutely.
train on that lunar lander spot, you can zip around, you can go crazy, and you have an escape with the lunar lander if it's there. There's just so much you can do there, and
Yeah.
it goes the rounds go by quick, they go by fast. You can do whatever. The training spot's perfect. It's literally a perfect circle. You can just do whatever, and it definitely works very very well.
The thing, it's really easy.
Oh yeah.
The monkeys give it a good balance because like you just don't want to play it. It's that's why
See,
people
but
I'd say
like
that it wasn't like that
I
good.
don't think monkeys give it a balance because it doesn't balance it out. It just makes me not want to play it all together. That's
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm
biggest
saying.
problem.
If they didn't have monkeys, it would have been a lot higher in
If
my
they didn't have
opinion.
monkeys,
But it
it
would have
would
been
be
a
one of the
lot
best maps
easier.
ever. Oh yeah, it would have been crazy easy. At my number 11 spot, I put 9, just right above Ancient Evil, and I feel like a reason to good. It feels like an arcade map. It doesn't necessarily feel like a full fledged built out map, but the way that it plays feels so much fun. And the tigers were awesome. Everything they did was very very cool. The wonder weapon, like I said, was great. The chaos storyline really wasn't. I could care less about the Easter egg. It was a cool boss fight, but you know, I don't really play zombies for the boss fight. I play it for the actual zombies experience,
Yeah,
and I feel like that was the best zombies experience in Black Ops 4. I feel like
yeah.
they hit it with 9, and that was it. And that's the best that Black Ops 4 has to offer, which is 9.
Training in nine in the center, it had its ups and
Oh
downs
yeah,
for me. The fire made it a little bit difficult.
I
The
feel like they needed to do that. Otherwise, it'd be just too overpowered of
oh,
a
it'd be
training spot.
overpowered.
Kind of how like D Machine is right now with Spawn.
Yeah, yeah. It is a very good map, and that's I totally agree with you on that. I probably should have put it a little bit higher in my opinion, but there is just so much good zombies maps that it's a
I just
good map.
personally think it's a slight edge over Ancient Evil.
And that's good because Ancient Evil would be my number 10 spot.
That's your number 10.
Yep.
See, I definitely think it's good, and I said what I said about it. I just feel like it has a slight edge over 9.
I think
Or
that
9 has a slight
overall
edge over 8. I'm sorry.
Ancient Evil is a better map,
Okay.
but 9 is more
I
fun.
feel like yeah, I definitely agree with that. But I feel like 9 or Ancient Evil definitely might be a better map. But my problem with Black Ops 4 is that I don't have fun, and 9
Yeah.
I just have the most fun in, and that's all I can really say that holds it together. Because you need as much as you can get in Black Ops 4, and that's what you get.
Yeah. Okay.
At my number 10, I gotta go with D Machine.
Really?
Yeah,
I put it
you
higher.
put it higher. Okay, that's interesting.
I do. Okay. It might not like, age well, but for right now, it is a very good zombies
One thing I will say
experience.
about that map is I feel like that's one of those maps that would not work at all on any other game, but it works amazing on
Absolutely.
Call of Duty or Cold War. Just the way that it
Absolutely.
plays feels really good. I mean, without going into too much detail about how the actual new system, because it's different. It's very, very different. It's a different
Very.
experience. It's not the same that you're used to. But just looking at it from a map standpoint, this is what Black Ops 4 should have done. They've done a very good remaster without making the remaster the entire map. It just feels like
Yeah.
it enhances it. It adds a little bit of nostalgia and it feels good. But it doesn't completely engulf the map and ruin the new map experience. It feels like a new map experience, and that's why I put it high. The Dark Aether is a very cool ability. It adds a lot to the map. I don't know how well it's going to age in like 2 years from now. I don't know how much I'm going to go back to playing it, but in the current state that it's in right now, it's definitely a very, very great map.
Yeah, we don't know what the other maps in Cold War are, so maybe it won't even be the best.
Yeah, that's very true. There could
It's
always
very
be worse.
possible. What I do love is that I can still use my knife at round
Oh my
50 and
god.
it being one hit. That is the best part of Cold War. Change my
You've
mind.
been
You
playing
cannot.
that forever, and I just see you training, and I see you run into a horde, and I just hear shink, and then one zombie drop, and I just see you zip away with
I
your
love
dark
the
ether.
knife. I love the knife. That is the best. At my number 9, I have Moon.
I have Moon as my number 9 too.
That we can agree on
Yeah.
this. Very fun Easter egg.
Very fun Easter egg. Quite possibly the best Easter egg. With
Very fun map.
yeah.
Very good wonder weapon.
Oh, the Wonder Weapon is one of my favorite ever. It's so much fun.
What I didn't like, and can we agree on this? You could get Jug at round 0, or you could get Jug at like round 10.
Yeah. It's 50-50.
That is the
That
problem.
is a big thing. Because if you get Jug that early, you're basically just chilling. But you need Jug on that map because things will just
You need
hit
Jug.
you out of nowhere. I like training outside. A lot of people like to train in the biodome. I hate that. I like training outside. See, the biggest complaint and the number one complaint I have about Moon is if you're training in Biodome or if you're training outside and those excavators, they can block off
Oh,
both of the front doors. But the problem is, let's say I'm outside training, I go to Area 51, I go in there and I didn't bring a hacker, I can't open the doors. I'm stuck in the training spot for the starting room for the rest of the game because I can't move up those claws, and I'm just screwed. So that I had a like a round 70 run one time, and I had to escape, and I didn't have a hacker with me, and that was it. I screwed myself, and it was just simply because of the excavators.
yeah, you need to be prepared on that map. I didn't like the whole like biodome gets. I didn't like the excavators in
Yeah, the
general.
excavators are definitely. eh, See, I didn't like them because, for one, why the hell do you have an excavator excavating your own biodome? What the hell's wrong with you? Second of all, like they don't even make the map more difficult. They just really like screw you over. Like it's not
Yeah,
even an inconvenience. It's a literally just you messed up. You forgot the hacker. Good game. GG's. That
yeah,
was
and
the biggest part of
especially
that map.
like
I hate it.
yeah, especially since you needed a oxygen suit or a hacker, and there was only one spot for each of them.
Exactly. There
You
was
couldn't do
multiple spots
both.
for the suit, but only one spot or one room area for the hacker.
No, I'm saying like you can only put the hacker or the suit.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That there's only one spot for it, and you can only have one.
Yeah.
That was a problem for me.
I mean, there was a glitch in Black Ops 1 where you'd allowed to have both for a huge majority of the game that they never fixed. But, you know, it is what it is.
Glitches aside,
Not counting glitches.
glitches
How the map
aside,
is supposed to be played, the excavators are a big problem.
yeah, big problem. I do think that it was a very fun map, very fun Easter egg, very good ending.
Oh, yeah, great Easter egg. Set up Black Ops 2 in an interesting way, depending on how you felt about the Victus crew. I personally liked it, but not everyone did.
Yeah, it was great.
Number number 8, I got to go to Ascension.
Number 8, you got to go with
See,
Ascension.
you know, the monkeys, I hate them. I just hate the monkeys with a burning passion. That is the only thing that keeps me from playing that map all the time. But that map was where trainers were born. Kino was where they were made, but that's where people would really, really find their form. It was definitely good coming off of Kino. The aesthetic of the map was amazing. How it starts off dark, and when you get the power, the whole map lights up. The Gerst devices were amazing. They were so much
Oh,
fun.
the Patrishka
The
dolls.
Patriska dolls were so much. It was a really fun map. But just the monkeys just leave a sour taste in my mouth every time I play that map. It really it's. I hate the monkeys, but everything else about that map is almost perfect.
I agree. I do think that Moon is better than Ascension
I
because
can
of what it
see. Yeah, I
did,
can definitely see where you're coming from.
but I can't disagree with your spot to put it at 8. Well, at my number 8, I have Die Machine.
Really? Okay.
It's not too
See,
high because
I
it's
feel
still
like
young.
it's a
It's still
little
young.
too high because it's still really young.
Yeah,
And you also have to take into account for how the Cold War zombies actually work so differently. And from looking at it just a pure map perspective, I feel like there's a few more maps that are better, but I can definitely see where you're coming from.
I do think that the system kind of like it's new, it's fun, it's refreshing. Like I do think that's what swayed my opinion to put it so high.
I feel like another thing is how it kind of has like a reverse Call of Duty Ghost effect, where everyone hated Call of Duty Ghost because it was coming off of such a great game, Black Ops
Yes.
2. Now everyone's loving Cold War because it's coming off such a bad game in Black Ops 4. So I
Yeah.
feel like that has a bit of an advantage, and while I'm trying to look at Die Machine as objectively as possible, I feel like I still have a lot of fun playing that map, and it has a lot of potential. But I also feel like that a lot comes from the Cold War mechanics, and not necessarily the map. So I think just looking at a map perspective, I feel like eight's a little too high, but I can definitely see where you're coming from.
Yeah. I do think that the system kind of sells it for me. It definitely like with it being like harder later in the rounds, I do think that's why it gets a little bit more
See, this isn't
points.
necessarily a D machine problem. It's more of a Cold War
Yeah.
problem. It's easy. People are getting to round 200 like it's round 80.
It is easy,
It,
but it makes it harder over time. That's what I like about it.
yeah,
And the whole exfil thing, like that's cool. But this
yeah.
is like the
But this
system.
is this is probably something we're going to see in every map, not just this map. So just looking at it
Yeah.
from a map perspective, I think I placed it decently.
Yeah. So at my number 7, I had Revelations.
See, I think that's a little too high, simply just because of the fact that it's not an original map. It's just a remaster of a selective maps. It definitely plays very, very fun, but I just don't necessarily think I can agree with it being that high.
It is a very easy map, very easy, but it is really fun. Once you get
One of
set
the
up and
most fun
everything,
maps to set up on.
once you get set up and everything, you kind of loses it because you do all your thing in like the whole Margwa
Yeah.
itself or the
As
giant
as soon as you get the
Papathican.
God Mask, it's pretty much game
It's
over.
over.
Yeah,
It's over.
it
It's
loses
way
all of
too
its
easy
value.
then. Get the Ragnaroks,
Yeah,
the Thunder Gun, Margo
you can
Gun.
literally turn into
Over.
just Jesus in that map. It's insane.
Yeah, absolutely.
My number seven, I put Buried.
Wow.
See, which what do you think about that?
Let me explain. The buildables, great.
Amazing, best
The
in the.
subsurface resonator, great.
I think out of all the maps in Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3 and all the craftables, Buried does craftables the best.
Yeah. The witch's house, in my opinion, was very cool.
Very cool. Kind of
It
infuriating.
could screw you
Kind of
a
infuriating.
lot.
I'd always sit in the back and let everybody else be my meat shield. But definitely interesting.
Definitely an interesting one. I think you put it low. Is it the paralyzer, the corn maze? Like,
See,
I think the
I don't
map just was
necessarily
very
think I don't
fun.
necessarily think that I put it low. I think I put it in the perfect spot because it does a lot of things right, but there's definitely maps that are better without question.
Of course there are. Uh, It's gonna be, of course, but
Yeah, now
it's just
we're
a
into the
fun
we've
map.
been into the great tiers of maps. Like all these maps are fantastic. I could play these maps for hours and
Absolutely,
hours.
absolutely. Like I
Classic
could
round
play them.
37 runs unburied. Paralyzer is one of my favorite wonder weapons of all time. It's just it works so cool. I love the way that it works. I mean, if you use a top of the bank strategy when it was in its prime, it was a broken strategy. The gun really falls off after like 70ish, but apart from that, one of the most fun guns and one of the most fun maps, and definitely the prime of Victus. Buried is that like anomaly of a map that's right between two great maps,
Oh yeah,
and then it's just after coming off of what Die Rise Transit was, Buried just sits in the middle of just like a great map, but not like the best map, if that makes sense.
I do think I can sway you by saying one weapon and one weapon only.
I know what you're
The
gonna say. Yep, the
Remington.
Remington.
That weapon was absolutely great.
I
I
mean, it
loved
was
it.
just kind of a reskin Python, but when you picked it up,
It will always be in
felt
my
so
fridge.
cool. You felt like you were playing in Buried, and it was a great weapon.
It will always be in my fridge. Not only that,
Always in the fridge.
you had Leroy. Like Leroy was such a
Leroy
cool
was
addition to the
such
map.
a good mechanic. That is one of the best mechanics I've ever seen in the Zombies map ever. The way that they did that worked so well. It was perfect in
Yeah,
every way.
I think that when you mix all of like what Barry had together, then you get a good map.
Oh yeah,
That's what made Barry
definitely.
a good
Buried
map.
was a fantastic map.
Absolutely. So at my number 6 spot, Shadows of Evil.
Okay. See, Shadow of Evil's aged so well for me. When I
Yeah.
first played Shadow of Evil for the first month or two, I liked it. I liked it a lot, but it wasn't a great map in my opinion. But the more that Black Ops 3 aged and the more that I played it, the more I just fell in love with the map. It's so much fun. The Easter egg is okay. It's pretty good. The ending was mind blowing the first time seeing it. Everyone was so hyped at that. The Margo one is the most overpowered wonder weapon of all time.
Yeah,
If
you get
if you
alchemical
get a
with it.
chemical antithesis, you could shoot it. You could take a nap. You could read your emails. You can check the screen, see that you need to shoot another one. Shoot another one. Go take a walk. It's a broken gun, and it was fun. It was so much fun. The Margo was a great boss, great addition to the game. You know,
The sword, it was really
sword was
good.
really good. I personally, I didn't love the upgraded version as much. I mean, I always did
Yeah.
it, but I mean, it was fun. The playing the eggs with co-op people trying to fight over the
Oh my
spots,
god.
always a
That was
nightmare.
awful. Awful.
The ability to go into Little Margot was very interesting. Definitely a great
Yeah.
mechanic. One of Treyarch's masterpieces, but I think you placed it a little too low in my opinion.
I do think that there are better maps on the list. There's there's definitely the trio, and I think we all know what the trio is.
Oh,
And I don't even have to say it.
I know what you're gonna say. Yeah.
but I do think that there is definitely better maps on the list. What does it for me with Shadows, like it's easy with the Gobblegum
Yep.
aspect, but it's also hard.
Yeah, I can definitely because people who are new to the map, there's definitely a big learning curve, but the way that it scales upwards is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with that.
In my number 6 spot, I put Kino der Toten,
Wow.
and it's surprising because if you,
I'm gonna say this for you, especially for you.
especially for
You put
me,
that low.
see, if anyone who talks to me, Kino der Toten's my favorite map of all time. That is my baby. That is my pride. That is my high round runs. That is everything to me. I love that map more than anything. But it's very dull. It's very simplistic and it's very easy.
That's what I love
The,
about it.
you know, I can understand that.
That is what I love about
I
it.
like the remade version of Black Ops 3 a lot. It definitely makes the hard parts of Kino that were hard easy, but man, Kino was where everyone learned to love zombies. That's where people learned to train. That's where people fell in love with the game. That's where they first experienced zombies. That's where everyone had their first moment they fell in love with zombies. With Double Tap, with Jug. That was like the moment. That was the most important map in Black Ops 1. And I think I placed it a little low, but you just have to keep in the fact that there's more interesting and more intriguing maps. But Kino der Toten's my baby. I love this map. I've spent countless hours just running through traps with the Thunder Gun. It's just amazing map. Juggernaut is the camping in Juggernaut is an interesting strategy. It's more of a training map without question on the stage. Getting to
Absolutely.
pack a punch is so much fun. The way that it works in the teleporter, just a great map overall. I understand why I think I put it a little low, but I think it needs to be where it is.
I do think that it gets points for being very simple and very easy to
I
learn,
think the biggest
and
point
that is why it made it so like
the
high.
the biggest point is that that's where everyone found love with zombies. That's where you learn to train. That's where you learn to do pretty much everything. That's everyone's starting map, and it just holds the most special place in my heart for zombies.
Exactly. It is by far one of the best maps. By far. No doubt in my mind. You can never go wrong with Kino Run.
Never.
Absolutely. So at my number 5, I've buried.
See, I think that's just a little too high. Just a
It
little.
it had, your wall panes. The bank made it extremely
Oh
easy. That I'll
yeah,
say that.
because especially when it started to carry over in other maps as well.
Yeah, I'll say that. The bank definitely made it easy. There, I did like the witch's house. The paralyzer, very fun
So much
weapon.
fun.
Absolutely like very good. Infinite ammo. You can never go wrong with it.
Yeah, I forgot about the bank. I remember like when I first learned about that, I think I spent like 2 or 3 hours the first day just buying the PDW off the wall, getting a shit ton of points, dropping it in the bank, dying, and just rinsing over until I had max money. Then the next day
Yeah.
I'd go in for a high run and just blow the bank open, spend up the whole map, and just, chill.
Yeah.
Definitely a broken mechanic, but it was still pretty fun though. It's still a fun
But
mechanic.
again, like it had the Easter egg where you can choose between Maxis and Richtofen,
That was one of the most interesting
and then it had
features.
the super Easter egg too.
And
Like that's what made
we got
it.
to agree. Buried has one of the most fun Easter egg steps in any map, and that's target practice.
Yeah,
Target practice was
totally.
one of the most fun Easter egg
Very
steps.
hard.
Oh yeah, people for
Very hard with 4 people.
very very hard, but still very very cool and very very interesting.
Absolutely.
You're gonna hate me for this next pick. You're gonna totally disagree with me, but at number 5, I have to put Call of the Dead.
That is a high one. You cannot do that. There, you
Yep,
cannot.
I have to.
There's,
Call of the Dead is such a fan favorite map. They added so much. PhD Flopper was amazing. The Scavenger was so fun. The only map that fails in is high rounds. That is the hardest round to get past round 50 and 60. It is so impressive to get there. With George Romero, with the ice, with the zombies, with the way that the wonder weapons fall off. The VR11's horrible, but it's just such a perfect map. The aesthetic is amazing. The ice can
yeah,
be
yep.
kind of hard. The Easter egg is fantastic. It's one of the most fun Easter eggs, experiencing it, crossing the two worlds. The cast was amazing,
I
perfect
love the
cast.
cast. That was the best part, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
the
That
map,
was
the
the best part.
lighthouse, everything. The pack-a-punch system was all right in the way that it worked in the little ice ring. You could really get screwed over in the ice a lot. George Romero is
Yeah.
one of the most fun bosses in the zombies, even though he's annoying as all
He's
hell,
he's constantly after you.
constantly
That's
after you. But
I can't believe you put
hard
that above
map
Kino
that is
though.
such a fan favorite. And I know that I love in my heart I love Kino way more than I love Call of Dead. But just from a pure map perspective, I think Call of the Dead is just superior.
Yeah. Kino had better training, better weapons, better high round attempts. You cannot tell me that Call of Duty is better.
I think from a map layout perspective, yeah. Maybe not from a play point perspective, but I just feel like looking objectively at the map, I have to just give Call of the Dead the slightest edge. Not by a lot, but a little bit.
Call of Duty was just fun.
Call of the
Like
Dead was so much
it's
fun.
it's nothing more than
Plus,
that.
best Easter egg song of all time. Fight me on it. Best Easter egg song. Absolute banger.
I can't do that. You're really gonna tell me like I know that they just introduced Easter eggs and all that, but like there was better.
Better
It
Easter
was
eggs, you
just
say?
there was better Easter
Oh,
eggs,
yeah, oh, yeah,
better.
there's definitely better Easter eggs.
There was better in general. You cannot put that at 5. Cannot. That's got
I'll
to be
stick with
lower.
it. I gotta stick with Call of the Dead being at 5.
That's awful. All right.
I don't think it's awful. I think it could be a little bit lower on my list, but
Absolutely. I
not by
think it should
much.
be
Not
lower.
by much.
I think with the fact that the 2 wonder weapons in the map don't make a good one.
No. But the
They're
scavenger
just
was
bad.
so fun though.
It's a sniper that shoots explosive
It was
bullets.
so much fun. If you had Deadshot, you were having a blast.
I mean, if you pack a punched it, then you have a monkey with it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not like it was
It was like the
that.
crossbow, but better.
Yeah, it's not like it was that much different from anything we've seen. The VR11 definitely was. Was it that good?
Horrible. One
Absolutely
of the worst
not.
wonder weapons ever.
You just can't tell me that it's better than the Thunder Gun. You
Oh
can't
no,
do
the
that.
Thunder Gun's amazing.
That's where you can't tell me that's better than my number 4 spot, Kino der
Kino der
Toten. You
Toten.
cannot tell me that's better than
I
that
mean,
map.
I can't. There's nothing I could say to this. Their tone. It's my favorite map of all time. It's just,
Absolutely,
it's
you
just
could
a
never go wrong with
masterclass of a
it.
map.
It is a masterpiece. Absolutely, like you could
For
always
high
find me playing
rounds,
this
for just
game.
having fun, for just chilling, for tryharding. It does everything it needs to do perfectly.
I think that was like the master of the zombies formula.
Yeah, it did.
That was
It
it.
just did everything in the old zombies formula, I should say.
Old zombies
Because when
formula,
Origins
yes.
came out, there was a whole new formula that was built.
Whole new
But
one.
before pre-Origin zombies, Kino was perfection.
Yeah, totally.
For my number 4 spot, I have Shadows of Evil. Shadows of Evil is,
I could see
in
that.
my opinion, Treyarch's masterpiece. The aesthetic is amazing. The cast
I do
is
love like the Night City
fantastic.
vibe.
The boss Margwa is cool. The Easter egg is fun. They overhyped the map. And they overhyped it in a good way though. Like
It did deliver.
it definitely delivered. And that's why I feel very satisfying because there's no false promises. You know that map, you play that map, and it is a fantastic map, without a doubt. One of the greatest
Coming
maps.
coming off of a map like Origins, you needed a banger,
Needed a
and
banger,
they
and
provided.
without a doubt.
That
It
is
took a
yeah,
little bit of
that's great.
getting used to with the whole going into the squid thing, because that was a huge different mechanic. And the gobble gums, which I didn't like at first because I thought it was really overpowered, which it was, but it definitely grew on me. Definitely grew on me.
I did think that it was a lot like Mob of the Dead in that opinion, and that's why it's not a remake, definitely not, but it's like Mob of the Dead, and that's what I love about it. It's very like a random cast together, and they're just thrown, and now they have to work together. I think that's what makes the cast great.
They definitely did that perfectly.
Yeah. So
And one thing that you say, like, Treyarch just hit back to back to back 3 bangers of a maps in a row.
oh yeah,
With Origins and Shadows and Der Eisen just back to back to back bangers.
they
That was
had
the,
it down
that was
pat.
the peak of zombies, without a doubt.
Absolutely, and that's for my number 3 spot. I have Mob of the
I
Dead.
have Mob of the Dead. God, I love Mob of the Dead.
Mob of the
Mob
Dead
of the
is
Dead
just like the pinnacle. you can you cannot find well you can find a better map in Black Ops 2, but like that's the pinnacle of zombies. That
All of the great nights I've had on Mob of the Dead just playing it. It's good for high rounds. It's good for just chilling. The afterlife effect is amazing. Electric Cherry is a great
the
perk.
aesthetic, amazing.
Oh my god,
Alcatraz
the
Island,
best aesthetic in all of zombies. It fits perfectly.
absolutely.
The zombies, the red eyes, the blunderbuss, the the oh my god, I'm just forgetting the name. Oh, the Hell's Redeemer. Everything. It's just it works perfectly. The golden spork, the Easter egg, building the plane, getting to pack a punch feels so satisfying. Trying to challenge yourself by staying on the bridge. That map is just perfection in every way.
I think that the setup, that's the good thing. The setup didn't feel like it was a struggle. It didn't feel like it was a problem.
It,
It
it
didn't
was
feel like a
complicated.
burden.
It was complicated without being a burden, and
It
that's what
didn't
it
feel
did
like a burden.
perfect. There was enough to keep it complex, but not enough to make it not want to play it. Like maps
Yeah.
like Go Riders, that's about where it's just there's too much going on. But you load into Mob, you get the dogs, you get the plane, you get the Redeemer, and then you're off to the races.
And could we just say that Brutus, by far, one of the best bosses of all
Perfect
time?
bosses. He did everything right. He
Absolutely.
was not hard enough to kill where you heard him and you instantly got scared, but it was enough to be a convenience at the early rounds. Like, oh shit, he locked down the box. He screwed my perks over. He can catch you in an off guard spot if there's more than one of them. He can definitely screw you over. But everything that map does is just perfect.
And it was just like the lore, the story behind it. These guys are in purgatory.
Exactly.
And it didn't fit into the whole
Premise
storyline of
storyline, yeah.
zombies until later down the line. Until we figured it all out. And that's like you didn't
They
realize
just
that it was
connected
just
the
so
dots.
interconnected.
Exactly. That's one thing Treyarch did so well with the zombie storyline. I mean, we can make a whole nother video of just how in depth and perfect the zombie storyline is for the most part. But
Absolutely.
yeah, just absolute perfection in every way.
Yeah.
For my number 3 spot, some people might think it's a little low, but I gotta go with Der Eisendrache.
This is the trio.
This is
You're getting
this is
into
the
the
trio.
three best maps. Like everybody
Yeah,
knows them.
everybody knows what's coming.
They are the best maps of zombies of
Der
all time.
Eisendrache was the perfect. See, I put it below Origins simply for the fact that it copies what Origins did, but it did it in the
Yeah.
right way. Every other map that's trying to copy this formula has not done it, except for this map. They did it perfectly. The bows are a great wonder weapon. The map flow is perfect. The Panzer is a difficult boss that definitely makes you feel like you should be scared, because otherwise, without it, the zombies would be too easy.
Yeah.
The quest to upgrade the bows, in my opinion, is better
Amazing.
than the staffs from Origins.
It was like a
It
story,
was literally like a
especially with the
story.
wolf
The
bow.
wolf bow was fantastic. The lightning bow was grossly overpowered, but it was still fun. It didn't make you not want to play it. The Ragnaroks were great. The pack-a-punch system was interesting. I wasn't the hugest fan of it, but it was definitely interesting. The rocket test area was good. The wonder weapons were fantastic. And,
Yeah.
the Easter egg was great. The boss fight was amazing. The boss fight was really
Oh
good.
yeah, the Easter egg, one of the
best
best.
Easter eggs ever. Just that map is just amazing in every way. There's nothing
Yeah,
to do bad.
it took what Mob of the Dead and Origins did with like the three dragons and then the bows and then just put it together and that is what Horizon is. It is like the child of Mob of the Dead and Origins. And you can never go wrong with that.
Yeah, just
If they
amazing.
like they took the aesthetic of Origins, added a little bit of Mob of the Dead to it, and pure joy comes to me with when I play this map.
Yeah.
Like, it is beautiful,
Just
beautiful map.
perfect map.
Love
It
the
can be a
lightning.
little easy at sometimes.
Yeah.
It kind of just randomly scales to like 37.
It gets really hard.
for like no reason.
Yeah, it gets really randomly hard for no
The
reason,
round
just
just
because
goes
like the
crazy long.
Panzers
Yeah.
and the fact that like the lightning
'Cause when
bow
they
is the
nerfed
only bow.
Haymaker, it
Yeah.
definitely put a dent on how fast you can kill the Panzer, but still overall,
Yeah.
definitely a difficult boss.
Yeah, and that works because at my number 2 I have
You have
Horizon.
Horizon Dragon number 2. Yeah. I mean,
And
just coming on from talking about it, you can go on about this map forever. It's just a
absolutely.
great map. Does so many things perfectly. copies the Origins formula a little bit, but the castle aesthetic was amazing. Kind of wish they had a little teaser to the dragons in that map specifically, because castle and dragons, it's the dream.
Yeah,
But great map in every way.
great map. I love the medieval vibe to it and the whole bows. I loved it. It was great.
Now, for my number 2 spot, I put Origins.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is like the pinnacle of zombies.
See, I put
And you put it at number
yeah.
two.
There's one reason and one reason only I didn't put it at number 1, and it's just because Origins sucks if you play by yourself. It is not fun by yourself. It takes way too long to set up. The staffs become a hassle by yourself. The points, there's so many doors, and killing the Panzer and getting set up, trying to do the Easter egg is fun by yourself, but it's difficult. There's so many points, so many generators, so many things you have to do in that map that it is a grind to do by yourself. It's not impossible, and it's still one of the greatest maps ever, even by yourself, but Origins is amazing and it is the best map of all time if you're playing with more than one person. But if you are by yourself, and I'm a big solo player, which is a big reason of why I feel like the other map just has a slight advantage, but Origins is fantastic. I can't say a single thing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong
Other
with that
than
map.
there's not the best training spots ever, the best map.
You
But
do have the second zombie tank.
yeah,
I love training in the crazy place.
yeah, that is a crazy
It's
challenge.
just
It's so
fun.
hectic.
It does.
But yeah, without a doubt, probably the best zombies map ever. But if you're a solo player, it really just can be a big hassle, and a lot of solo players don't like it. I'm back and forth. I play an equal amount for both, but I just have to take into account that Origins does not hold up for solo players, and solo players are a big majority of zombies.
I do think that Origins was why all of the other Black Ops 3 and Beyond, they changed it.
Black Ops 3 can't
It changed
Black Ops 3
everything.
can't exist without how Origins turned out. The Origins Easter egg, amazing in
Amazing.
every way.
It was Vorkuta, so they took it from a campaign, the steps and all
Yep.
that, and they made that into zombies.
Yep.
That is, it took one of the best campaign missions, made it into like an Easter egg, and that's what they revolved the whole map around that.
Right.
That's it for me. The staff's
The
amazing.
trailers were hype. You wanted to play that
Oh.
map so much. When you saw what was going on with the young characters, you were like, "Oh my god!" And dude, the feeling you got watching the ending cutscene for Origins for the first time,
You had like what?
you were
What is going on?
speechless, and it was amazing. You just felt
It was crazy.
crazy, and it was just perfect in every way. Just a great map.
Nobody had any idea what was going
No.
on during that ending cutscene. It was we didn't know if we were just in a game or what was going on. It was crazy.
Craziness. And while I'm not a big fan of how the apothecants worked, I feel like it started to get a little too far fetched in a way. And I
Yeah.
feel like that started with Origins. The way they told the story worked until Black Ops 4 when it started to get a little weird. But from Call of Duty World at War to Black Ops 3, the story was perfect. Origins kind of changed it up a little, but it still worked. And Origins just shows how much of a masterpiece it is.
I do think that the story could have went in a lot of different ways. They kind of took it in like this whole squid thing for some
Yeah,
reason.
I wasn't the biggest fan of that, and I think that has a little bit to do with Shadow
But it
of Evil.
worked.
It worked. It definitely worked. It was just a little weird, in my opinion, how it went from a Nazi superpower weapon to squids taking over the world. I
Yeah,
understand how it worked. I just not necessarily am the biggest fan of it, but it's still an amazing story in every way.
absolutely. And Origins began it all. Like that is what made it for me. Origins, and that is why Origins comes in at my number one spot. You cannot take me off of this
No.
because it had everything.
There's nothing I could say to
Panzer,
take you off of it.
the staffs, the whole map aesthetic, the whole like it could be rain, snow, and like just clear excavation
All the
site.
elements of the staffs were so amazing. They were all great. They were so much fun to use for the first.
Yes.
It's just the teleports and the teleporters to each of the crazy places. It felt perfect. It felt like
Yeah.
so much fun.
The aesthetic, amazing. I don't even know why there was giant robots, but they
They
were
were
there.
there and they
It
were
made them.
awesome.
Yeah, it made it
The
great.
digging
That
was
map was
cool. It added a
amazing.
great feature of ways to get, empty perk bottles and the golden shovel and the golden helmet, which is pretty cool. Just a lot of
It added
things.
so much to
So
the game.
much. That's what it turns zombies into a basically from a great game mode to literally like a lifestyle game mode where like you knew what
Yeah,
was going on with zombies.
it was the pinnacle of
Yeah.
zombies.
And coming off Origins to Shadows to Horizon, that turned zombies into an absolute peak. And it was
It
just amazing.
transformed it.
Transformed zombies
Transformed
completely.
zombies into something what it is today with this whole thing. Who it's great. Absolutely
But
amazing.
with all that being said, I have to put Mob of the Dead as my number one map. And I know that Origins is definitely the peak of zombies. And overall, Origins might be the best map. But the way that Mob of the Dead does everything right is absolutely perfection. The map, the boss, the solo capability, the multiplayer capability, the high rounds and the low rounds. One thing that kind of falls off in Origins, apart from being solo, is the difficulty of high rounds. It's not the easiest map to do in the 40s and the 50s and plus. Mob of the Dead, you can do everything in that. The afterlife
Yeah.
mechanic is perfect. How you get to pack a punch, they do that in the coolest and most interesting way that I've ever seen, while
Yeah,
keeping you
the
engaged.
cycle is cool.
While keeping you engaged in the story, the way that you get the parts are amazing. The Hell's Redeemer is so much fun and one of the most special and lethal abilities that I've ever had using. The perks, they just work. The Blunderbuss and the Blundergat are amazing. It just, they do everything perfectly in that map, and there's not a single thing I could say wrong. Origins, I have a few things, but when it comes to Mob of the Dead, I just can't think of anything they did wrong.
I do think that Origins took what Mom of the Dead did and made everything
I
better.
can definitely see what you're coming from, and I don't disagree with that.
I do think that they made everything better. They took it up to 11 with Origins. That is why it would be my number one spot. But I can see why you put it
Yeah.
at Mob of the Dead at number one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is totally number one material, no
Yo,
doubt.
yeah.
I love it. All right, guys. That is our list. And if you guys like the video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to, if you guys want to see any more of this, that comment what you guys would want to see. And we'll see you all next time.
Have a good day from here and everyone in the Denmen. Thank you for turning in, and we'll see you next time. Peace.